I want to talk to you about a point in every founder's journey where all of a sudden it seems that you don't have anybody around you to speak to that understands what matters most to you and your business. This can come on as a surprise because in the beginning of your journey, things were a lot more simple, a lot easier to understand. As you grow and as you have had success, you almost expect things that come easy and come natural to you. You expect others to understand. And what begins to happen is that the people around you, whether it's family, friends, business partners, business associates, they listen, but you can tell that their answers are very shallow, or they just didn't really internalize the challenge that you're facing. This can feel lonely. It's not just about loneliness, but it is a lonely process. Being an entrepreneur, being a founder is a lonely journey, a lonely experience. The issue here is that if you don't have someone to think with, to help you think through these challenges that you're facing, whether it's the business itself, finances, your health, or a myriad of other things, then you begin to clog your mental real estate. And that's a term that I like to use very often because I take my mental real estate extremely seriously. We only have a limited amount of mental real estate available to us, and we must optimize what we allow into our mental real estate. It happens gradually over time as you grow, as you have become a successful founder. You begin to notice that the people around you don't truly understand what you're experiencing. But it's expected. Family, they've never experienced what it is to be a successful founder or to run a business in most cases. Friends, especially if they're, working a regular job, which is nothing wrong with that, but they will never understand what it is to own the business, to bear that responsibility of owning a business, successful or not. All they see is the success. They don't see the payroll, ad spend, fulfillment, customer service and support. And the list goes on of potential bottlenecks in your business. All they see is that you have success and you make more money than the average person. Automatically, they feel, okay, you may be facing problems, but poor you making all of this money. And they don't actually internalize the challenges that you may actually speak to them about. But again, this is expected. And a lot of times, you also can't speak to your team about this because when you're facing challenges, sure, there's some key players on your team that you can discuss this with, depending on the stage that you're in. But in a lot of cases, the really heavy things in your business, you can't speak to your team about because you have to keep up morale, especially if there's something very difficult, a very difficult challenge that you're facing. You need to keep up morale so you can keep your team long term and not scare them. Another aspect that you've probably experienced is other founders in your circle that you may discuss with, mastermind with. You may go to for advice as well, but they may also not hear you because they're drowning themselves. They have their own problems to deal with. It's hard for them to truly help you when they are focused on helping themselves. And unfortunately, nobody is going to care about your business as much as you. Your business is a baby. Would you trust some random person with your baby at year 1 or 2 or 3? They can't even walk. They can't even feed themselves. And obviously the goal is to remove yourself from the business so you can work on the business and not in the business. But when you speak to other founders who are also taking care of their baby, they may not hear you. So now you're in this position where you don't have anybody to think with. You're essentially on your own. And this causes additional challenges. As we said, your mental real estate will become clogged. When your mental real estate is clogged, you lose clarity. Every new challenge becomes the end of the world. Your stress tolerance is extremely low because you're at max capacity. I look at stress tolerance as there's a threshold. Same as mental real estate, there's a threshold. As soon as you reach that threshold, anything above that will break. So at this point, thoughts that begin to just loop without any real solution, some cases, you may just shut down. And there's times where I myself felt so much pressure, I didn't want to wake up in the morning. I didn't want to get my day started. Getting my day started meant I had to face dragons that I knew were waiting for me, and I didn't have a solution for. I didn't have a way to slay that dragon. You start to think, maybe I just need a break. Maybe I need a vacation. Maybe I just need some more sleep. These aren't the solutions. Running from the dragon does not slay the dragon. The only thing that fixes the problem is to fix the problem. There's a common term that everyone loves to throw around, which is burnout. I don't believe in burnout. If you feel that you're experiencing burnout, there's inefficiency somewhere. I don't care if you're working 16, 18-hour days. If you're working on the right tasks and you are operating in your most authentic self, you could work 3 days straight without feeling burnt out. This experience of burnout comes from carrying something you aren't meant to carry. And at the very least, you aren't meant to carry it alone. Thinking was never meant to be a solo act. Just because you don't have somebody around you right now that you can think with doesn't mean it should all be on your shoulders. If you want to feel light again, if you want to have clarity, if you want to unclog your mental real estate so you can think again, so you can be creative again, so you can feel peace again, that often requires perspective from somebody who's experienced what you are going through. That is why I created Unlocked Founders. It is to be that place, that group, that family for you to go to help you think, to help you have clarity on the challenges that you are facing so we can solve them and regain your clarity and your peace. There doesn't exist a problem that we can't help you think through and find the solution. There's always a best move on the chessboard. Sometimes you just need help to see it.